Hello, and welcome to today's news discussion. I'm Dana.
Hi, Dana. I'm Matt. Let's dive into the top stories of the day.
First up, Pakistan has deployed around 8,000 troops, a squadron of fighter jets, and an air defense system to Saudi Arabia under a mutual defense pact. The deployment comes amid escalating tensions with Iran.
That's a significant move. What are the details of this mutual defense pact between Pakistan and Saudi Arabia?
The pact is reportedly a confidential defense agreement between the two countries. The exact terms aren't publicly disclosed, but it's clear that both nations are strengthening their military cooperation.
So Pakistan is essentially backing Saudi Arabia in the current conflict. How does this affect the regional dynamics?
By deploying troops and advanced military assets, Pakistan is demonstrating its commitment to Saudi Arabia's security. This could potentially deter Iran from further escalating the situation.
That makes sense. The reporting also mentions that Pakistan has been involved in brokering peace talks with Iran. How does that fit into the picture?
Yes, Pakistan has been trying to mediate between Iran and Saudi Arabia. This dual approach of military support and diplomatic efforts suggests a complex strategy by Pakistan to manage the conflict.
It's interesting that Pakistan is taking both hard and soft power approaches. What's the reaction from other regional players?
The article doesn't go into detail about other countries' reactions, but it's likely that other Gulf states are watching this development closely. Some might view Pakistan's move as a stabilizing factor, while others might be concerned about the escalation.
Okay, got it. Let's move on to the next story.
The U.S. Supreme Court has sent a closely watched Native American voting rights case back to a lower court, asking it to reconsider after the High Court weakened the Civil Rights Era law.
That's a significant legal development. Can you explain what this case is about and why it matters?
The case involves Native American tribes challenging certain voting restrictions. The Supreme Court's decision to send it back to a lower court means that the final ruling on these voting rights is still pending.
So the Supreme Court is essentially passing the buck. What's the broader context here?
The Supreme Court has been narrowing the scope of the Voting Rights Act in recent decisions. This case is part of a larger pattern where the court is reinterpreting civil rights legislation.
That has significant implications for voting rights in the U.S. How do Native American communities view this development?
The reporting suggests that Native American communities are concerned about the potential impact on their voting rights. They've been advocating for protections against discrimination at the polls.
Okay, let's stay on the politics beat for a bit longer.
Dr. Margaret Connolly, the sister of Irish President Catherine Connolly, has been detained by Israeli forces along with several other Irish citizens during an interception of a Gaza-bound aid flotilla.
That's quite a dramatic story. What's the background on this flotilla, and why were they intercepted?
The flotilla was attempting to break the blockade of Gaza by delivering aid. Israeli forces intercepted them in international waters, leading to the detention of several activists, including Dr. Connolly.
The Irish president must be concerned about her sister's detention. Has there been any official reaction from the Irish government?
The articles mention that organizers are saying Israel illegally kidnapped the activists. The Irish government is likely to be involved in diplomatic efforts to secure their release.
This incident is likely to strain relations between Ireland and Israel. Let's move on to another story.
President Donald Trump has announced that he's called off a planned military strike on Iran because serious negotiations are underway.
That's a sudden change in plans. What led to this decision?
According to Trump, the request came from Gulf allies, who apparently urged caution. The situation seems to be de-escalating, at least for now.
So the U.S. was on the brink of a military strike, and then it was called off. How does this impact the credibility of Trump's statements about military action?
Trump's announcement came via a social media post, which is an unusual way to communicate such a significant decision. It raises questions about the decision-making process behind the scenes.
Let's switch gears a bit.
A Minnesota county prosecutor has charged an immigration and customs enforcement officer with shooting a Venezuelan man during the Trump administration's immigration crackdown.
That's a serious allegation. What are the details of the incident?
The ICE officer is accused of shooting a Venezuelan man who survived the incident. The charges were announced by a Minnesota county prosecutor, indicating a level of local oversight into federal actions.
This case highlights the tensions between local law enforcement and federal immigration authorities. How does this fit into the broader narrative about immigration enforcement under the Trump administration?
The article frames it as part of the Trump administration's crackdown on immigration. This incident is one of several that have raised questions about the use of force by ICE officers.
Let's move on to the economy.
Elon Musk has lost his lawsuit against OpenAI, with a jury ruling that the artificial intelligence company is not liable for allegedly straying from its original mission to benefit humanity.
That's a big win for OpenAI. What were the main claims in Musk's lawsuit?
Musk claimed that OpenAI had deviated from its nonprofit mission by pursuing profit. The jury dismissed these claims, finding that Musk's lawsuit was untimely.
The jury's decision is seen as a significant victory for OpenAI. What are the implications for the AI industry?
This ruling could set a precedent for how AI companies are governed and held accountable. It suggests that courts may be hesitant to intervene in the internal governance of such companies.
Okay, let's discuss another economic story.
India has stated that it will continue to buy Russian oil regardless of U.S. sanctions waivers. The decision is based on commercial viability and energy security needs.
That's a clear stance by India. How does this impact the global energy market?
By continuing to buy Russian oil, India is helping to keep Russian oil exports afloat despite Western sanctions. This could have implications for global oil prices and the effectiveness of sanctions.
The U.S. had been trying to persuade countries to reduce their reliance on Russian oil. What's the reaction from the U.S. likely to be?
The article doesn't mention a specific U.S. reaction, but it's likely that the U.S. is not pleased with India's decision. This could lead to further diplomatic discussions about energy security and sanctions.
Let's move on to some business news.
Business Today aired on BBC News, providing a roundup of the day's market news.
That's a broad topic. Were there any specific market trends or news highlighted?
The exact details aren't available in the summary, but Business Today typically covers major market movements and economic news.
Okay, let's discuss another business story.
China has agreed to purchase at least $17 billion worth of U.S. agriculture annually, according to the White House.
That's a significant trade agreement. What are the specifics of this deal?
The agreement was reached during a summit between Trump and Xi Jinping. China will buy $17 billion worth of U.S. agriculture products each year for 3 years.
This deal is part of a broader trade negotiation between the U.S. and China. How does it fit into the larger context of U.S.-China trade relations?
This agricultural purchase agreement is likely part of a larger trade package aimed at reducing tensions between the two countries. It could help stabilize the trade relationship.
Let's move on to some more business news.
Meta is planning to lay off around 10% of its staff in batches starting May 20. The layoffs are part of a restructuring effort.
That's a significant move for Meta. What's driving this decision?
According to the reports, Meta is shifting its spending focus towards AI and reorganizing its teams. This suggests a strategic realignment within the company.
The tech industry is constantly evolving. How might this impact Meta's future operations?
By focusing more on AI, Meta is likely trying to stay competitive in a rapidly changing tech landscape. The layoffs and restructuring are part of this strategic shift.
Okay, let's switch to sports news.
EFL Greatest Games aired on Sky Sports, featuring highlights from various EFL matches.
That sounds like a great program for football fans. Were there any specific matches or moments highlighted?
The summaries mention several matches, including Sheffield Wednesday versus Sheffield United and Leeds United versus Sheffield United from the 2017-18 season.
That's a nice trip down memory for fans. Let's discuss another sports story.
The New Orleans Pelicans have hired Jamal Mosley as their new head coach on a 5-year contract.
That's a significant coaching change. What's the background on Mosley?
Mosley was previously with the Orlando Magic, where he had a record of 189 to 221 over 5 seasons. He's known for qualifying for the NBA playoffs in each of the past 3 seasons.
The Pelicans must be looking to improve their performance. How does Mosley's hiring impact their prospects?
Mosley's experience and track record suggest that the Pelicans are looking to strengthen their team dynamics and potentially make a deeper playoff run.
Let's discuss another sports story.
The Cleveland Cavaliers advanced to the Eastern Conference Finals by defeating the Detroit Pistons 125-94 in Game 7.
That's a convincing win. What were the key performances in that game?
Donovan Mitchell scored 26 points, while Jared Allen and Sam Merrill each added 23 points. The Cavaliers' strong performance helped them dominate the game.
The Cavaliers are moving on to the next round. Who are they facing next?
The article mentions that they'll face the third-seeded New York Knicks in the Eastern Conference Finals.
Let's discuss some more sports news.
Sky Sports Cricket HD aired IPL matches, including Chennai Super Kings versus Sunrisers Hyderabad.
Cricket fans are always excited about the IPL. Were there any standout performances or moments in the recent matches?
The summaries don't go into specific details, but the IPL is known for high-energy matches and exciting cricket.
Let's move on to entertainment news.
Peppa Pig aired on Nick Jr., featuring episodes like Decorating and Grown-Up Playground.
Peppa Pig is a popular show among young kids. What's new in the recent episodes?
The summaries mention episodes where Peppa and George are choosing how to decorate their new bedrooms and exploring a new playground.
That's cute. Let's discuss another entertainment story.
Shakira has been acquitted in a Spanish tax fraud case, with the court ordering the government to return over $55 million in fines and interest.
That's great news for Shakira. What were the allegations against her?
Shakira was accused of tax fraud in Spain. The court found her not guilty, and she will receive a significant refund.
The outcome of this case will be a relief for Shakira. Let's discuss another entertainment story.
Katie Price's husband, Lee Andrews, has been declared missing in Dubai